Now we'll go over this a couple times because it is a bit confusing, but we want to distinguish between map coordinates and data layer coordinates. So I have a data layer here in a map, and if I look at this data layer, I can see that down at the bottom I have these coordinates display, the x and the y coordinates, and they have a set of units. In this case it's decimal degrees. We'll explain in a later video how these get set to that unit, but we just want to be clear that you can navigate around the map here and it will show you the coordinates where the tip of the finger there is pointing. So I could zoom in and query the coordinates here, this northeast corner of Ramsey County, and those coordinates will change depending upon the coordinate system that you're using. It gets tricky though because you can change the map coordinate system. So right now the map is set to cast all the data onto a specific coordinate system in decimal degrees, and I can change the values both of the projection that it's projecting to and of the units that it displays. Now usually I want to keep those the same. So if I look at the coordinate system here for the map, it's a WGS 84 GCS or Geographic Coordinate System, so it only makes sense really to display those in decimal degrees or degrees minute second or some geographic coordinate system. So if I click up here on the general, I can display the units here as various types, but the ones that only really make sense in for most instances are these decimal degrees, decimal minute seconds, or degrees minute seconds. I can select others though if I want, and it will give me then these XY coordinates here. So it'll tell me it's in zone 15 north, and it'll give me basically the XY coordinates for a location, so I can get those. But mostly I want to be careful and set these to be what the underlying data units are. Okay, and so if I look at the data here, properties, I've described this before and we'll describe it again. I look at the source and the spatial reference. These are a geographic coordinate system, and the angular units here are degrees, and so I want to use something that's degree related, and then I can look down here and navigate around, and as precisely as I want. If I zoom way the heck in till I'm really close, oops, too close, you see they hardly move at all until finally they don't move out to some arbitrary number of decimal points as I move around. Again, zooming in closer and closer. And then I could write this down as the coordinates for this location again in these decimal degrees. Now, we'll have a couple videos that talk about how to change the map coordinate system and on-the-fly projection versus the data layer coordinate system. And you have to bear in mind that these values can be set to give you nonsensical units, and so you typically want to have the units associated with the coordinate system of the data layer and be pulling that information out in those units. Anyway, here's where you read them, and it goes the X and the Y in order.